I'll be presenting topic configuration management overview from configuration management. I divided this particular topic into three different areas. First of them is configuration management overview. So here in this session we will be trying to understand the basic terms and terminologies related to configuration management. So to begin with, let's jump out to SCM. SCM stands for Software Configuration Management. SCM is having a own process which is in line with SDLC for the accompanying environment. It has been seen as something which is causing improvement especially in the program management. Here we remember the program has to be set of interrelated projects. So SCM measurement theory is being based on which kind of a measure we use at a particular level. Likewise, productivity, integrity, conformance, and customer satisfaction. The ICM, that is Institute of Configuration Management, defines CM as the process of managing the full spectrum of an organization's products, facilities, and processes. By managing all requirements, including changes, assuring that the results conform to all requirements. Now, CM is a process to remember. It should serve the organization's product facilities and the existing processes. And the main aspect in the configuration management is the how we go about addressing the question of software is flexible, so please add on the things as required. So many organizations can be characterized as level 1 for the software configuration management maturity model. So we have studied CMM. It was having 5 levels. So level 1 organizes really about the SCM. Let us move ahead. For an effective SCM program, what is being needed is adhering to the process and documenting the issues related to the configuration management process. So therefore, SCM is an essential discipline in the activities of defining requirements, designing, writing, compiling and testing, documenting the software. So it is not simply version control or format control. Just working around on the completing the software documentation doesn't mean that you are dealing with the configuration management. It is not a after the fact function. It means that after doing the program, you will be doing the configuration management. So it goes up with hand in hand with the way you work on. So the objective is to deliver a quality product because quality is an NFR. So direct kind of resources are prohibited here. Next is the problem. What is the problem for SCM and why do we need it? The problem is of multiple people having to work on the software that has been changing. Now, it's the client's perception that software is flexible and you can add the functionalities as you want. But is it an easy kind of a process? That is to change the things as the hands are being changing. More than one version of software has to be supported because there are frequent releases and configuration control systems which can have different functionalities altogether because it would depend on the homogeneous as well as heterogeneous environments, the systems under development, the software on different machines and OS, need for coordination. That is, if multiple people are been working around in teams, in groups, they are required to be monitored. So how the people should be monitored? They are not directly monitored, but the processes that they are being following, they are being monitored. So, so SCM manages the evolving software system, means reaching out to some definite or finite conclusion, controlling the changes that have been made to the system, and just see to it that it is a set of management discipline, SCM, and SE processes to help a baseline. That is, today, if we formulate one baseline after working around strategically on one particular aspect of the process, the next thing is to determine how it could be made applicable and how it will be useful in working around with the quality issues. So there are approved standards from IEEE. There is another standard which is there from EIA. So we will be focusing on EIA as well, right? So measurement, a measure can be defined as standard of measurement, the extent, the dimension, the capacity of anything, especially determined by a standard act or process. Just see to it that the measurement itself is a process to quantify the real world entities so that they have the categories and then they could be worked out in a particular kind of an form of representation. So a measure, let us say, is distance for an example, then the metric could be meters or kilometers or miles depending on the convention that you need. Proceeding next, a matrix program has to be done. So you may see that the benchmarks, that is, earlier on we have seen baseline. In detail, we will be studying baselines and how to manage the baselines. There is something benchmark that define nominal operation. It defines the nominal operation, not the major kind of an software development process item, which indicates the goals and strategies. Now here, appropriate estimation model can be used, that is COCOMO, SLIM or FPs. It can be a mathematical model or a heuristic model that is being worked around with the uh, collection of the data. Now, one has to find out the patterns and analyze whatsoever that has been measured to achieve better results. So one should not forget the implementation ethics, including trust, value, communication, and understanding. And you should be interested in product's value to cost ratio. You can develop an perfect or ideal kind of an software, but it is coming at what particular cost that has to be worked out. Next is the how the administration goes in for SCM. Just see to it that it can be administered in several ways. Organization wide, that is thoroughly one process is being followed. Project specific, you are changing the CM culture and practices. Distributed amongst the project members, okay, so as to work them independently, and a mix of all. So typical scenario will involve mix of all, that is organization, project specific, distributed. In short, this can be mentioned as OPD. OPD you can compare with another thing in hospitals, but here the exact item on the bed, that is configuration bed, is the uh, source code, right? That needs OPD treatment, that is organization specific, project specific, distributed amongst the project members. So you have got the activities, likewise configuration item identification or CI typically. Promotion management. Promotion is related to within the organization. Release management is to be done for the target audience or target customer. then branch management, then variant management, then change management. Out of this, only release management is external and change management is external. Rest of all are internal activities. There is no fixed kind of an order. Likewise, in SDLC, you have analysis, design, then implementation and testing. So such order is not there. Okay, so if you are working around with the branch management, we'll keep on working around on branch management. There is something called as trunk. Okay, we'll know about that little later. So who are the people who will be doing the CM activities? So these are configuration manager who is responsible for CI, that is configuration item identification, creating promotions and releases. Promotion is an internal activity, that is acceptance testing is been performed. Now the client has been shown the demo. CCB, that is change control board member. How it is been short form? CCB, responsible for approving or rejecting the change request. Developers who create, writes the code, checks the tracks, okay, makes the changes into the code, resolves the conflict, right? So there is certain thing called as locking and releasing something from the lock, getting the current version modified, and then the auditor could be there who will be responsible for selection and evaluation of promotions for the release. Release is being done for the external party, that is the client typically. Next is the CM activities as we have discussed earlier on. So we see the terminologies to work out with, that is CI, baseline, SCM directories, version, revision and releases. The last compartment speaks about the workspace, that is the developer's workspace or programmer's workspace, where the version, revision and releases are being taking place. Of course, you need to administer all of these. So, top 10 key SCM activities, what they are, just 4 of them have been identified. Likewise, identification, change control, status accounting and auditing, ICSA. So identification, change control, status accounting and auditing. These are the 4 major kind of components. So SCM activities, they range from accessing the and retrieval of the software, retrofitting the changes, migrating the changes across the SDLC, managing the compile and build that we do regularly, and then working around with the change distribution, that so and so change has been considered and we have implemented the change. Now it is the turn of the other people who have been working around on the component to work out with the changes and to accommodate the changes. Coordinating the communication gaps between the programmer's pool is also one more kind of an activity. So, in turn, you work to track the bugs and fixes and obtaining the project status. So, project status comes in at a large scale. So, CI, it's an aggregation of hardware, software or both, are designated for configuration management and treated as a single entity. Just see to it. So unless and until we visualize the CI list, we might not be able to understand what exactly the CI list according to the software. So define the configuration items. So who can be the configuration items? It's the entire project, object model, dynamic model, RAD and so on, user interfaces, code data unit, database has been coming in that makes up subsystems, and document. So everything is been coming as configuration item candidate, and they build the configuration items list. So define the configuration items. Two issues are there. What is been selected as an configuration item, and what should be under configuration control. Not everything will be coming in and can be seen as a configuration control item. When this is a very tough question, when you are going to apply the change control or configuration control. Not every time, okay, your day may not begin, okay, with working around with configuration control. So the choices is that starting the configuration item too early, which is introducing bureaucracy, starting with configuration items too late, it introduces chaos. That is complete kind of an out of the scope work you are trying to handle. Selecting the right configuration items with skills and then finding out the techniques similar to object modeling that is comparable to UML, right? So, CI, it answers the questions, what is configuration of my system? The code you narrate, the database that you work on with, the procedures, the source code, the PDL construct, the components that you have written, the architecture, the design, everything comes under the umbrella of software configuration. I am mentioning umbrella, right? There is a difference between framework activities and umbrella activities to remind you. What version of the file is this and what are the components of the systems? That is selecting the items to be placed under SCM control and then selecting various revisions of the software product and releasing and configuring documentation and establishing configuration baselines. So let us say we are beginning with version 1, we can have a variant 1.1 and then 1.2. Then here onwards we have to manage the branch related to 1.1, that is 1.1.1, 1.1.2, 1.1.3. Similar story happens with 1.2. So this is the partial list. I hope so. This list will guide you, isn't it, what is SCI? That is source code modules, system data files, then build files and the scripts that you narrate. Many of the times the scripting language has been used to build the code at a variety of levels, interface specifications, test procedures, test plan. Everything that you are been using as a part and parcel of software. Either it is in the form of executable code or any kind of a physical unit as far as software is concerned, or documentation simply, they will be serving as SCI partial list. So the major activity is configuration change control. Why? Okay, what it addresses, what is being controlled, who controls the changes, whether the change control is correct, whether it has been accepted, received and verified, then only you can go forward for controlling these changes. Then for change control you have what? The activities, likewise defining the change process, establishing change control policies and procedures, maintaining the baselines, processing the changes, developing the change report forms, controlling the release of the product. Now, just try to see to it that there is software configuration control board. So, software configuration control board proposes the changes, approves or disapproves it. If approved, it coordinates. If disapproved, we do not consider anything okay as a change. So, let us see it through the diagram. A software change is been initiated. Software enhancements are also there. Problems are also reported. either by the internal elements of the organization or the external one. There is a review board who analyzes and assesses the impact. Engineering Change Proposal Preparation, ECP, in short it is called as ECP, Engineering Change Proposal Preparation, because you will be changing the software directly or for enhancement purpose or problems are being reported. Okay, so evaluation of engineering change proposal is being done here. If yes, incorporate the changes, verify the changes, supply feedback to the originator who has brought up this change, or if no, if it is not been approved, then you can archive the change. It means that you can keep the change for certain time duration away from the existing software. Next is the change management and the baseline. This is just the initial kind of a definition. It is a specification or product that has formally been reviewed, agreed upon, and thereafter serves as a basis for further development. I have already told you that how we can say that we are there at a level 3 because we know that there is something existing at level 0. So the deviation is of 3, right? Positive or negative. So these deviations can be set with the help of baseline. So that is what is suggesting the importance of baselines, right? The game of tennis also work around with the baseline principle. Now, who can initiate the change request? What is the change impact? What is the check-in, check-out procedures? And then how we are going to deal with that. Now, let us speak about the check-in and check-out. Alright. So, there is a SCM repository. There is SCM repository where all of the documents, source codes were being present. Now you want to do the changes. So you will be requesting and checking out firstly the software or the component from the SCM repository. You will be putting it on the workspace, modifying it and performing in check-in again back to configuration management database, that is CMD. To repeat again the process, you as an software configuration management team, SCM team, you will be doing checkout from CMD, placing it on workplace and modifying it, the source code, and then after the change has been accommodated, verified, validated, you will be sending it back through the check-in procedure to the CMD. This is exactly opposite as we go and enter into a room. First we do check-in and while leaving we have to do check-out. But try to understand it from the resort point of view. For resort, it is check-out first and then check-in afterwards, right? So we have got the status accounting. Okay, I will just read the questionnaire for you. That is, what is the status of an item? As the word says, status accounting. What changes have been made and how many files were affected by the problem report? 10, 15, 20 or the entire file structure is when requires the migration of the change to be noticed. Then which version of the item implements the change request? Whether it is a major version or it is a minor version. What is different about a new version of the system? Or is it the same as the previous one? The next one is how many faults are being detected and how many of them are fixed. Not only keeping on detecting is been important, but fixing them means finding out the solution on the problem. That is what is the job of an SCM engineer as well as the team who is maintaining the software. And I must quote you that X is the cost that is required for development, double X is the cost that is been required for maintaining. So, what is the cause of trouble report? So, you will be working around with cause effect plot. That is one of the Ishikawa's tool, cause effect plot, right? So, in status accounting, you will be monitoring the status of the configuration item. Let it be the document, let it be any other thing, because you must remember that so many versions you have created for the SRS, and for these you have to work around for multiple times altogether. So, proceeding ahead, configuration auditing, saying that one was the status reporting. Before that, it was configuration identifying, that is CI. We have got now auditing. Auditing verifies whether the software product is built according to requirement standards or contractual agreement. Somewhere, direct kind of changes were not been brought up from the customer or client. You have to depend on standard, because if you want to work out with CMM level issues, you have to have the contractual agreements. Now, the goal of configuration audit is to verify that all software products have been produced, correctly identified and described, and that all requests have been resolved. Now, there are two kinds of audits. One is functional configuration audit, in short FCA, and second one physical configuration audit, that is PCA. FCA versus PCA. Very, very important. FCA verifies that software satisfies the software requirements stated in the SRS and interface requirement specification, that is IRS. That is, FCA allows one to validate the system against the requirements. So, acceptance testing, integration testing, system level testing, unit level testing is all been part of FCA, that is functional configuration audit. Now, what is PCA then? It determines whether the design and reference document. See, I haven't taken the name of, high level kind of an products. Likewise, outcomes, or you can say milestones. Likewise, design and the reference documents. They are high level documents. So whether they are being representing the software, whether they are being traceable, and can you bring changes to it. So you have to have the audit schedule and procedures and generate the audit reports. SCM implementation, how it is being implemented. First step is in implementing the SCM is to obtain management sponsorship. So management should support, as a sponsor to work out with the SCM implementation, making sure that resources needed for success are allocated to the project. Now, an organization can maintain management sponsorship, that is funding, you can say, because for doing this kind of an act, you are always having the sponsorship either from your own organization or from the external body who will be benefited out of making the solution. So, one might ask the question, how are files identified? How versions of software releases are being identified? How are baselines controlled? 0 or 1 or 2? From where these deviations could be measured, right? Because if baseline indicates 0 and you are standing at level 3, there exists a gap of 3. If you are increasing the baseline ladder, 2, and you are there at 3, so it means that your baselines have been matured. Okay, so what files are included in each release, and then you can go for even for ISO certifications, isn't it? The only thing that is SCM processes and the documentation support should enhance the quality. So quality is indirect in software CMMI we have already studied. Yeah, so configuration management has been coming somewhere. Okay, at the stage 2. Let us proceed ahead. This is an SCMP, Software Configuration Management Plan. This is the first part. This is just having similar kind of an format to the SRS that we have written. Introduction, which suggests about scope definition and references and tailoring. Now the configuration identification was the next job. So SCM organizations and SCM roles and responsibilities, who is who, relationship of CM to software process lifecycle, that is SPLC, and then configuration identification right from the list of source code towards the reports, variety of reports, maybe auditing the report is the specification identifier. So how the specification can be identified? Labeling and numbering scheme for documents and files. There has to be a labeling and numbering scheme. How identification between documents and files relate? The description of identification tracking scheme. How the identification scheme addresses versions and releases. And then change control information, numbering scheme for each of the forms. That is, I have explained to you two processes, important processes. Check out from CMD and check in to the CMD. CMD stands for Configuration Management Database. Project baselines, that is identifying various baselines. What is the source? Okay, you may be puzzling what is the source. It can be gathered from the heuristic data or past experiences or historical data from the previous projects. Who authorizes it and who verifies it? Okay, these baselines are correct or not, and are they being incorporated in the software and the documentation? The third part of the SCMP is activities. You have to mention the CI, Configuration Identification Library, that is identification and control mechanism used, number of libraries and types, backup and disaster plans. Now why backup and disaster plan is required? Let us say that you have changed one of the components and you have run the two processes, check out from the CMD, made the modification and again perform check-in. Now if let us say due to that the previously working modules and the data suffers and it doesn't respond, then there has to be fail-safe situation. There has to be fail-safe situation created purposefully, so that it is a precautionary measure that if something doesn't work, then what will be the another thing, okay, that you can do. Then retention policies and procedures, how the CI, once they are being checked in, can they be retained or should they go under again check out, modify and check in kind of an cycle. So next thing is this to be online, offline, media type and format, how the information is being written, right? And configuration control, change reporting, change monitoring, change control flow diagrams you can draw, just like flowcharts. There would be CCB members. They can conduct the project charters right at the beginning. They can have members, rules, procedures, approval mechanisms. Once the changes have been approved, they should go about applying the correct level of control. and they may perform the document revisions. Now there is set of automated tools which are being available, which can be used to perform the change control. So some of them are in RCS, VCS, then SVM, and GitHub. And GitHub is used for distributed kind of a source code configuration control, and it involves Linux like commands. Okay, many resources are being there available with GitHub, and for that exclusive training is been required and practice is required, especially for GitHub. So configuration status accounting, status again we have seen, okay, what is to be there in the release has to be determined. So management reports, QA reports, CCP reports has to be produced, and the media that has been released, that should be known. Known problems are to be captured within the release. Any known fixes that should be captured. Installation instructions. So many a times it happens is that those who are been making the installation of something or some software unit, they are not knowing how to install. So instructions has to be written so that the software works well. We don't want only working software. What we want is the software that has been installed correctly, can be customizable, and serving. I mean, this word serving is also being encapsulated by software configuration status accounting. Configuration auditing, that is what happened when you are running an audit. That is checking up that whether the things are been going smoothly, which baseline it is being tied to, right? Just for a case of example, in our building, okay, we have got 4 floors. When we can say that we are having 4 floors, because we have got ground floor. Now what is special about us is that we have got -1 and -2, isn't it? But whether it is mandatory to have that every organization should have -1 and -2 and -3 or -4, right? Like that. Or can there be a rule? If you have 4 floors at the top, you should have 4 floors, okay, downwards also. Yeah, 100 feet down the line. Yeah, near about. So that will be a big joke for the auditors and the CA reports. So let's proceed ahead. Write the CM milestones. You might be wondering that why training is required. That is for orientation of understanding the terminologies of CM, who does what, how to make use of tools. Formal training has to be given. Practice time has to be given. A dummy project timing has to be given. And then only the training could be successful. The CM value added plan answers the question. Okay, we will see only the major points. It captures the target audiences and what is the role of customer. Customer is not required everywhere, as you understand, because it depends on customers' involvement also. That for a complex development package, it is necessary to involve the target audience as well. And the last point important is that what information will users require to run and maintain the system. So these are the example SCM plans, right? How you will be picking up an SCM tool and what is the characteristics of the project. For development, if the life cycle phase is development, project concept type is critical, size is medium, SCMP tool is advanced. Lifespan is short because a definite kind of an turn around and turn off time is there. highly structured work should be there, and it should be there related with complex system. Quite obvious that ADIT, development covers ADIT. Yeah, concept, that is pre-development phase. You may be developing prototypes, so size will be small. Basic SCMT tools will be okay. Shorter durations, informal, because prototyping, their main purpose and scope is to have a working software, right? Maintenance, support software that is large and online. Full cycle lifespan support has to be there. Activities are well structured, and all means involving DCM, that is development, concept and maintenance. It's an indicator of commercial project, which is beyond critical prototype and support software. That is from the internal organization's territory. You are moving to the commercialization. Size is small, integrated. Online help should be required. Full cycle support. But the nature of that is informal. And just try to see to it. The embedded application development area focuses on accommodating the all the three previously indicated. So benefits, product attributes are defined, product configuration is documented and serves as the baseline, and you can correlate with the requirements design and product information. Change activity. Activity is a network of actions. Our action is atomic unit of work. So you can work around with the builds, product builds, that is builds in terms of components, modules, etc. And actual product configuration is verified. This is not a static kind of an terminology. This is a dynamic. This is an, of course, running kind of an case. Okay, executables, you can see how they are being modified, how they are being documented, and the library should be consistent enough to make use of correct words. So again, it is the term of benefits that you can read and understand. Just see to it. The major points are correct baselines, track changes, have the compliance with the standards, and work around with the system, subsystem, test and interfaces. Relation kind of a grouping has to be there. Pick up one particular label horizontally and then apply configuration management. I repeat again, work with an horizontal label and apply configuration management. Next is Department of Defense CM process model. It embodies rules. Just see to it. Okay, the CI can be individual item, okay, or part and parcel of the CM, right? So documenting the CM process, timing resources, they could be technical or infrastructural resources or people resources. That is the issue. Then RFP, request for proposal. Then anything else that I can work out. So you can have the inputs, you can have the constraints and mechanisms which are being applied, and you generate the output. That is what is the broad CM process says to you. So communication is utmost important. Guidance of handbooks and standards and learning the lessons learned will require time. So one has to give time here, right? Next is CM life cycle, management and planning, configuration identification, configuration control. We have seen all of this, right? So this goes up in detail that what is there, okay, in management and planning. This represents the core block. Now just see to it. IPPD. This word is coming from PMI, Project Management Institute, Integrated Product and Process Development, and Integrated Product Teams, that is IPTs. They facilitate the CM process. So management has to be aware about what exactly they are being using presented. Superficial coverage will not help over here. The outputs can be in the form of RFPs, that is request for proposals and contracts. So configuration identification we have seen already. Configuration control. Here two important things are been there. Engineering change proposals, whether to say yes or no to that. That CCB will design change control board, will work out with a strategy or plan, and requests for deviation. Likewise, you are writing RFPs, that is requests for proposals. In the same way, you can narrate request for deviations. And if these deviations are been acceptable, then and then only these deviations can be permitted, or otherwise a strict kind of an implementation is required. Next is about status accounting. We have seen as much of the detail as possible. As designed, as built, as delivered, as modified configuration. That is what is the scope and outcome and milestone of CSA. I repeat again, it speaks about as is scenario for development. As is scenario for development. That is as designed, as built, as delivered, as modified. And the verification and audit, that is both the FCA and PCS will come over here. That is functional configuration audit and physical configuration audit, to check whether the outcomes are valid or invalid, whether they should be encouraged or discouraged. Then the activities ensure, prepare for the next phase, implement CM, evaluate CM, and work out with the lessons learned, and questions. The CM answers. What are the objectives? What is the rationale? That is justification for the CM objectives. What is the relationship of these objectives and risks? What are the chances that the risks will be increased? What is the thing that will bring up the uncertainty? There is a difference between risk and uncertainty. Just to simplify, the risk is a problem whose time has come, and about uncertainty, we don't have any database. So, difficult thing is to address the uncertainty than the risk. The next thing is what is the use of each CI, how it has to be supported, and whether the baselines are functional, whether they are been allocated, or whether product itself is a baseline from where you can have the deviation understanding. So this is about EIA standard 649. Determines the structure and hierarchy of the product. And just see, apart from all the points that we have seen, few new points we can see. Enables a user or service person to distinguish between two product versions. So a third party will be able to understand that what exactly the software does. It facilitates management of information, then provides a reference point for defining the changes and corrective actions. So very similar structure to what we have seen, that is EIA 649, and the typical activities are product structure determination, determination of CI, selecting configuration management baseline, identifying, re-identifying. Maybe your first time identification has given you nothing, but the second time it may give you something, right? And then approve, release and baseline the documentation. Why to baseline the documentation? So that in the further sequences of order, it can be referred. Next is the evaluation checklist related to documented process, related to product structure, and related to configuration documentation. So these three aspects, that is process, product and documentation. Product, process and documentation. PPD has to go hand in hand to realize the success of CM. The fourth point is product identification and then working around with configuration baselines. Once you have derived the CI baselines, how to cause these baselines to be stabilized? How to make them stable is the question mark. Then CI selection guidelines are in there. Unless and until you work it around, you never know. But just see to it that if common components are in there, you can have subsystems or support equipment or common item, and then you can apply to the extent of CI. Next is the checklist, that whether you have identified the correct CI. This may be an extensive questionnaire consisting of hundreds of questions, isn't it? I am presenting only 16 to you, right, which are critical, shortlisted ones. So, is the item's schedule is critical or high risk? Will the item require development of a new design? Whether the item incorporate unproven technologies, that is bleeding edge technologies. I have told you the matrix, that is about the two variable things, best practices versus technologies, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. 1, 1 is an indicator of very simple kind of an project. 0, 1 and 1, 0. They are indicating complicated projects, but both the things are been absent. That is 0, 0, best practices and technology are absent. It is a challenge to work out with the bleeding edge technology. So configuration management with the bleeding edge technology is the most difficult challenge that one can face, because everything comes up as a new thing. It is the consequence. Okay, just have a look at that. Too many CIs, okay, will contaminate the situation. Okay, you have to work around on the how much kind of an person hours work or person months work you can allocate. Excessive fragmentation, okay, too much kind of a level of detailing, too much kind of an structurization happens, and cost, of course, will be hampered. Too few CIs, you can finish up very quickly, but what is the consequence of that? Consequence of cheap kind of an operational product, that it might not last for too much kind of an long duration. So I suppose that that marks the end of this particular session.